is Tony Tominick and
Sherry Spencer.
And welcome to a minute of history or two. And this is our Halloween show, so I thought I'd become appropriately attired with my Mickey magic. What are you shaking your head for?
Listen, Mickey, we are going to have a Halloween show, but this
isn't. I thought this isn't it.
This isn't it.
You mean I got all dressed up in my costume for nothing?
Yeah, for nothing.
I thought we were going to do our Halloween show.
No, you're getting a little too excited. Halloween show is coming. It's coming. I promise.
It's out on my neighbor's steps already.
Well, but it's still September, so for now, let's stay focused on the Germans in Avon Lake. You want to?
Germans in Avon Lake?
Germans they brought a lot of influence in Avon Lake.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, you know, in October of 1945, they put Avon Lake on the front page of the newspaper. Oh, it was because we were opening, it's a Fruhoff trailer company. So we're going to talk about Fruhoff.
Oh, wow. So that was open in what year? 1946?
1945.
Wow.
It made front page news, and by 1946 it was open. But
wait, time out.
Yeah.
They built that whole facility in a year?
According to old newspapers.
I'm just saying, those Germans, take you 4 years to build that today.
Yeah, you better edit that part out because I don't know. I don't know how long to build it.
Well, if they opened in 47 and they started building in 45, Anyway, keep going.
Oh, all right. Anyway, so I will bet you're wondering how they came up with the name Fruhoff Trailer Company, aren't you?
Nope.
Well,
yes, I am.
You don't even kind of wonder?
Okay, a little bit.
All right. Well, because the Fruhoff trailers were first the brainchild of German August Charles Fruhoff.
Oh, so there was a guy named Fruhoff.
There was a guy named Fruhoff.
Who'd have thunk it?
And he was an innovative German. Because originally, he was a carriage maker. You familiar with that? You got some of those?
Oh, yeah. We've got German carriage makers in my blood.
Yeah, well, August built your relatives to the punch on this one because he had a buddy who wanted to go fishing and wanted to figure out how to pull his boat to the lake so he could go fishing.
Yes.
And it was August who came up with a contraption that enabled the guy to do that. And it was the precursor to the Fruhoff trailers.
Wow. So they made boat trailers first, huh?
Well, he made a boat trailer and then it just kind of evolved from there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So brain free. I'm glad you're good at editing. Because I just had a brain freeze.
You're just like, That's why we love you, Sherry.
Oh boy! Don't make me do this one over again, okay?
All right. Am I recording? Yes. So he built keep going.
Okay. So what he did was he built this trailer that could pull a boat behind a Ford Model T car.
That's cool. What is that Go ahead.
Can you picture the neighbors?
It's like the Beverly Hillbillies are moving in.
I can just see it now. Here it goes.
Yeah, is that a boat going by my window?
So at any rate, that took off and August got into trailer building. And eventually he actually made a company that built these trailers, and they incorporated in 1918. And August was the president. Of course, that's no surprise, right?
Yeah, right.
But do you know who the vice president was?
September?
Oh. Took me a minute.
I know, you're just not on the ball today.
Maybe that was her name. 'Cause
Maybe.
it was his wife who
Oh,
is the vice
geez.
president. Yeah.
Oh,
So that was a little bit of foreshadowing that she was vice president of a company that down the road was going to involve women to a large degree.
wow. Right here in Avon Lake, we started the change the tide of women in the workplace and having, the glass ceiling being broken, so to speak.
Yeah, we can claim credit for all of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in 1945, Fruhoff had 125 different types of trailers designed just for the military.
Just for the military. Were they all built right here in Avon Lake?
Not
No,
not
that was pre-war. Pre-war.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So he announced the newspapers. This was big news for the day. Announced that this company was going to be constructed right here in Avon Lake.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'll bet you know right where it was built, don't you?
Yeah, because it's still there, and I always still refer to it as Fruhoff, even though now it's Ford Motor Company.
And it occupied 186 acres of land when this Fruhoff trailer plant was constructed.
And,
It was,
when you think about that, even in my mind today, that's a lot of property. But back in 1945, 46, 47, that was unheard of, I would think, right?
I would absolutely think so. So it was the largest manufacturing plant in the world, right here in Avon Lake.
Just for trailers or in general?
Just for trailers,
Okay.
because that's what
Okay.
they made. That's all they made was these trailers. And in fact, it triggered a building boom here in Avon Lake. So it directly affected the development and the evolution of our city.
Yep.
Triggered a building boom that was so intense that builders couldn't get building materials to keep up with
Wow.
the demand for the housing.
That kept Grandpa and the boys, if you will, Dominic and Sons Builders, busy.
Oh yeah. Well, that was good. It was good for everybody, right?
Yeah.
It was a real shot in the arm for the economy all the way around.
Well, and not just Avon Lake, but the surrounding areas, because they had to employ people, right?
Absolutely. And so here's a fun little factoid for you. On each of the trailer would be stamped a serial number, and if the stamp had an AV, a capital AV on it, that means that trailer was built here in Avon Lake.
That's cool. I'll bet you there's still those trailers running around today.
Undoubtedly, undoubtedly.
Now I have to start looking at trailers to find out where the serial number is.
So by 1948, now we've got the world's largest trailer manufacturer right here in our backyard. And then along comes the Korean War. And you know what that did to the workforce at the Fruhoff factory. So who filled those gaps?
The gals?
Yes, Rosie the Riveters.
How cool is that?
That is. And in fact, in some old newspapers, you can see ads that say now hiring welders, men and women. And it actually says men and women.
You know what? I'm glad you chose this topic, because it gives me a different perspective, if you will, on that time period and the women's role in the workforce.
Their advertising and marketing department even put out a brochure where they were featuring women in the workplace. And right there on the front cover is a couple of the women from here in Avon Lake.
Avon Lake ladies?
Avon Lake ladies.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, probably some of their descendants are still around too.
That, it's amazing that people, I for one, had no idea of how important that history of that place is.
And then in 1949, August's son Roy took over operations at the Avon Lake plant. He was president of the company then. Sadly, there was a lot of friction within the family that caused the company to start to break down, operations to decline. But that's just one of those sad stories, right?
It seems like those family-run businesses, and I've been involved in many of them through my career, always end up with sniping and who gets what and how come they're there and why didn't I get it, and it's the beginning of the end.
So it's not new, is it?
No.
Been around for a long time. So we know Avon Lake celebrated a sesquicentennial in 1969. And at that time, Fruhoff placed a large ad in our local newspaper, and they talked about the success that they had enjoyed and how they were eager to continue to incorporate modern technology in the plant and become more efficient. And they pledged their commitment to the city.
We've heard that before, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, so much for that promise. It was short-lived because in March 1970, Fruhoff comes out with the big announcement it's going to close its Avon Lake plant in June of that year.
And what was in your mind, what was the cause of the downturn?
Well, they claimed it was inefficient operations.
Okay.
There was some hinting about some friction between management and workers. So the city fought hard to keep Fruhoff, though. Obviously, they didn't want to lose their golden egg, right?
Right.
So they tried and tried, but unsuccessful.
It was too late.
It was too late. So Fruhoff closed its doors in 1970. Citing labor and maintenance costs, and as I said, inefficiency in production.
I bet that impacted Avon Lake immediately.
And then it sat idle for the plant sat idle for a couple of years. But fortunately, salvation awaited. And in 1972, Ford Motor announced that they were going to move in to that location and begin operations there.
So there's only been two residents in that building, Fruhoff and Ford.
Right, because in 1974, Ford started production, and they're still there. Thank goodness.
And just put on a big addition.
Yeah.
Yep, put on a big addition so they can continue to employ our neighbors and continue to help our economy.
And they've been very kind to our community too. Very
Yes.
generous and very supportive in a variety of undertakings. So we appreciate them.
Hey, Sherry, didn't your father work there?
I thought you'd never ask. Yes, he did.
You're one of those Fruhoff babies then.
Yes, and I even had some of the little Fruhoff toy trucks. During a time, they sold these little toy trucks to the workers. And I have just a very, very vague memory, but I do have a memory of my father bringing home a set of these little trucks. And I remember laying on the kitchen floor playing with these little toy Fruhoff trucks.
That's pretty cool. My dad just brought home sawdust and pieces of wood.
Oh, I got that later.
I loved it. I loved it. Well, I guess that tells us a little bit more about that facility over there on Moore Road, or Miller Road, I guess.
Miller Road. Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. I've never got to keep those two roads apart easily. But I never knew about the Fruhoff story. I certainly wasn't aware of how women in the workforce is woven into that story. And Avon Lake played a role in that, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
And you know what else is interesting in how that weaves into our history? We have now gone from goat carts to trailers to cars.
To cars. And booze. I got to throw the booze. Somewhere there's got to be booze.
Yeah, why didn't we get the booze into this?
I don't know.
Somewhere.
I don't know. But before we go for this episode, Sherry, you always are amazing with the research you do, but there's something coming up in October I wanted you to speak about.
Okay. Ghosts?
Ghosts.
Cemetery?
Yes.
Tours?
Uh-huh.
private COVID tours, masks 6 feet apart and 6 feet under. You wanted me to talk about that?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I think I just did, right?
It's good. Yeah, Sherry, we are doing the return of the original format because we can't collect people into a closed environment because of the pandemic. So Sherry came up with a brilliant idea that we're going to do special tours for private groups. So if you wanted to take your friends and family or whatever, you no more than 10 people, you can get a hold of Sherry through Heritage Avon Lake Historical Society's website, or you can call the phone number. I'll put it on the end of the video. But then you'll be able to have your own special guided tour of that cemetery. And the tours last, what, 40 minutes or something like that?
40 minutes.
And it's not a children's thing,
No.
because a lot of the information is going to be a little bit deeper than it's
Ooh,
not.
deeper?
Yes. What?
Deeper?
Deeper. Yes. 6 feet deeper.
Like 6 feet deeper?
So I'll put some information at the end of the video, but thank everybody. We haven't been around for a week or so, but we had to kind of get our act back together after that long ride on the Lakeshore Electric Railway. But for now, this is Tony Tominick and
Gary Spencer.
ta-ta for now.
We pull off to a Texaco, eat lunch and drink Kool-Aid from a jar. Daddy let me pump the gas. Sometimes we'd see a license plate from out of state, a family in the car, kids staring out the back. One time